this is not on. Let's see.
Thank you. Yeah, I like jump right.
So,
Those were my art drawings, really. I started them, he finished. Woo! Okay. Hello. Okay. Good.
so can we talk a little bit about the fact that this story is based in some truth and some relevance to your life and your family? What was it like? I mean, did you think of Ewan when you were thinking of someone playing yourself, essentially?
Well,
Or a facsimile?
I kind of think I stole people. I feel like I stole pieces of myself, but my main goal wasn't to make a memoir. My main goal was to tell a story. And I thought what happened with my dad was so human and crazily for life that I wanted to write that story. This is the way I can do it. And I'm really I'm not a narcissist, believe it or not. And so what I loved about Ewan before I met him was seeing him in movies like Velvet Goldmine and Young Adam. I felt like I can't think of anybody else that makes himself that like emotionally available, that exposed, and is also such a good naturalistic actor and so funny and so, yeah.
The other thing is I want to ask is, I mean, so I read these letters that you wrote to both Christopher Plummer and Ewan as part of, for convincing them to take the role, at least part of your process. What was that? How did you receive that? Or what did you think when you received this? Did you receive? There was like a letter with an envelope, or maybe you never read that.
Yeah. No, I mean it's not wholly unusual. I mean, it's quite rare, but it's not wholly unusual to receive a letter from a director. But this was it was a very open letter, and it gave me a sense of who Mike was before I ever met Mike, and so it was very nice. And also it makes you feel that it's the script's coming to you, as opposed to, I suppose, just randomly being sent out to other people, lots of people, you know, which is nice. It's a nice way to approach a script for the first time.
And before I open the question, one of the things, there's like two, I felt like there's actually three strands of stories being told, but really there's two main thrusts. How did you film that? Did you film that, did you actually, film that in separately or in the traditional way where you're just all over the place, or did you actually?
Yeah, we shot two separate movies. We shot the first story with Oliver and Hal, and so we rehearsed with Christopher and myself and his friends, the prime timers, and Gore, and we rehearsed for a week, 5 days. We did extraordinary exercises. The very first day that we met, we met in a hotel where we were going to rehearse. We had lunch, and then Mike sent Christopher and myself off to Barney's. We were in Los Angeles. He sent us off to Barney's, and he gave me $200. He said, "I want you to buy Christopher a scarf." $200. Very low budget though. And he said, "Get him a scarf." So off I suddenly I'm in the back seat of a car with Christopher Plummer. Right? And he says, "What are those?" And he looks at my trousers, and I said, "Those are black jeans, Christopher." He said, "They're very tight." I said, "Well, they're skinny jeans, they would be what you would call skinny jeans." So when we got to Barney's, we made our way upstairs to the men's department, and I asked someone where the scarves were, and they were over here, and Christopher was already gone. He'd seen the jeans department in the distance, and he was off to get himself skinny jeans. He was in and out of the changing room. He was flirting with the shop assistant and trying on jeans, and when I left, I put about $1,200 worth of skinny jeans on my credit card, because Christopher doesn't carry a wallet around with him. I grabbed the scarf on the way out, and as a kind of afterthought. So that was our first day of rehearsal. And every night we would do strange and wonderful exercises like that, which really brought us together, bonded us together. And at the end of the day, we might read a scene, or really only we would read our scene a day. That was it. And then after that week was up, we shot the first story. We shot it almost entirely in sequence. And so we started at the beginning of our story and we worked our way to the end. And then we stopped filming. And then we rehearsed for a week with Melanie and myself. And Kai and Gina, who play our friends, and Cosy the dog, yeah, who was also in our first movie. And then we shot that film for 2.5 to 3 weeks. And so we shot them very separately, you know, because they are separate stories.
Great, so I'm sure there are quite a few questions from the audience. We'll be able to get to some of them. If you have a question, raise your hand, and I will try to call on as many as possible. Right over here, yes. Go ahead and stand up. Yes.
What's it like to work with Christopher Plummer? Well, I think the thing that we found remarkable is like how hungry he is to work, not to eat. He doesn't think of himself as I am the legend, Christopher Plummer. He really wants to work. He loves actors. That was really, for me, it was like totally charming watching him. Not just Ewan, just everybody. Or when he would be with Ewan, and Ewan would do a good take, and Christopher was off camera. I remember he'd do this little like. That really broke my heart, or opened my heart. But I get the sense that he's like very much not resting on his laurels and wants to get better with every take and is aggressively trying to get better.
Yeah, he's really contemporary, you know, and it's probably my preconceptions or whatever, but an actor in his 80s, right? Started acting in a very different era when acting was different, you know, acting's evolved, and although he gives that unbelievably beautiful performance, it never ever felt to me that he was giving a performance at all. It just felt like my dad, and the scenes felt very, very real when we played them, and I think that was surprising in a way, just how modern an actor he is, generous and absolutely lovely.
How about the middle? Yes.
So you talked earlier about how you got to do a lot of collaboration, which is unusual, and I was wondering if you could give some examples of the kinds of collaboration that you all got to do together to make this film.
Questions about collaboration, talking a lot about collaboration, and if they could give some examples of how they actually executed that collaboration. What about it?
Well, I'm definitely not tied to my script at all. The energy in the set, the energy with the actors is the most important thing. So lots of little things, like a very funny line you did of, you're going to need an awfully big CD case, whatever he said, you know, he just did that. Lots of times, I think like 80% of it's the script, but there's this key 20% where it's just them. And, or just a little thing like, when Christopher does that. So we were about to shoot that, we're setting it up, we're playing, and trying to make it as playful as I can. Ewan started making that sound, and Christopher was like, ooh, what is that? And I was like, yeah, what is that? What is that? And because I don't make that sound. I would never write that sound. I feel like it's a very British, UK thing. So Ewan taught him that sound and became part of the scene. Or like when Melanie shoots him in the head on the pillow, like when she just was playing around, and we're like, great, do that. So there's lots of that.
The whole thing is a collaboration. In broad strokes, the whole filmmaking process is a collaborative process anyway, but this never more so than in this film, really, I think. Flashes are really freaking me out, guys. I'm an epileptic fit. I'll go with it at the end. Good news, though, wouldn't it? Sorry. Yes, the examples are difficult to find because the whole thing felt like that. The whole process was that of collaboration.
Also, just even if they're doing the lines, like the timing, I would never say do it faster or shorter. And there's a lot of lulls in the movie, and I really love those. We watched the end just now. There's some really nice. It's like you can never predict them. You can never, as a director, we can never say make that lull happen between you two. So.
There were numerous ways you could have ended this film, and I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. How did you decide on that particular ending?
Very, very good ending.
Well,
many good endings.
I like that couple isn't all resolved, I feel like they're just at the beginning of making the commitment to try, and that to me felt like a very contemporary, nice way to end a love story. Oh yeah, sorry.
I will, one,
How about on the balcony?
on the very balcony? Okay, which side?
Anywhere.
Balcony?
Yeah,
Waving hands. One of the waving hands. Yes, go ahead.
We all loved Garth with the dog in the movie. What was it like working with the dog and filming with the dog?
What was it like working with a dog? And whose dog is that?
His name is Cosmo.
Yeah.
And he's a canine actor. He's done a lot of work. It's funny that people laugh at that. He's a highly paid professional. And he comes with a wonderful woman named Mathilde, who's his trainer and mom, they live together. And that's very much, you're really looking at Cosmo's soul. Cosmo's a really inviting, gregarious person that comes up and looks at you and is very warm. Really, really special personality that I feel like we just let happen.
Yeah, he really is. She's quite Mathilde's really clever because she allows you to become friends with Cosmo. Allows you to play with him, and all through the rehearsal, and both rehearsals, he was around, and we got to both Christopher and I, and then later on the Melanie, we got to know him and play with him, and he got quite jealous in the second film, didn't he? Because in the first film it was me and Christopher and Cosmo, and we're always knocking around together, and I suppose there was a lot of work with just me and Cosmo after oh no, that's me then.
But
I was in that house,
yeah.
But as soon as Melanie arrived and we were shooting that film, I was knocking around with the really attractive French actress on set, and Cosmo felt a little bit let down. He got a bit jealous.
But Ewan is amazing with him, as I feel like he is with the other actors. Something that totally impressed me is like his ability to like really get in sync with the other person or the other animal. And part of the reason Cosmo's so good is Ewan's so good at being tied with him. And then you have to do this one little trick where you feed him. Ewan would feed him every once in a while his normal food, not a treat. But you feed him from the center of your eyes. Yeah. Like you put the treat here, and then you give it to his mouth, so that he looks here, not at your hands. You were so good at that. You just made it a real natural part of the take. Mathilde would never have to tell you to do it. And half of Cosmo's performance is like their collaboration.
It is technical working with an animal, but it went really beyond that with Cosmo because he is such a strong character that you need to have two dogs when you're working on a film. You need, for bond reasons or something, you need another dog, and there was another little dog who we acted with only once or twice, and he was a lovely little dog and everything. But he really, when you were working with him, it was like, what's wrong with this? He didn't have the personality that Cosmo had. He really didn't. He's a nice dog and everything, but Cosmo's just like a really special dog.
She was quick on the draw.
I tried. This question's mainly for the star of the film. But if I were to describe your the film that you've done, I would say there's probably more to the credit than any other actor. I mean, you went from doing like things like a little horse, right? And so I'm wondering, do you intentionally go from extreme to extreme to extreme? So if you guys do like one life row and you think, I haven't played this before, does that make you more likely to take that kind of role?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would never really want to do something that I felt like I had done before. It was just about the choices, I suppose, and what was it?
Ewan's career, he makes such different films, and the roles are so wildly different, and from one film to the next, it might feel like it's really crazily different.
It's very simple, my decision making with scripts are really uncomplicated, and it really is just about reading. I've been very lucky about what I've been sent to read from many different filmmakers, and it's really just about what grabs me. And like when you read a good book and you don't want the book to finish, you start reading the book slowly and reading a page at a time because you don't want the story to be out of your life. That's the kind of feeling I look for in a script, and I think you have to start seeing the movie playing in your mind as you read it. And I was discussing this with Mike the other day, because I've been working a lot lately, and I'm finding it very difficult to read scripts because I can't imagine myself in one at the moment because I'm just getting a bit weary, I suppose. I need to stop and get hungry for it again. And so as I was reading the script, I realised it was just like a scene and another scene and another scene and another scene, and I couldn't make the script into a movie in my head. It just was like I could see scenes that actors would have to play. And then, and what you're looking for is that true experience of where the story comes alive, comes to life in your mind, I think.
So with the exception of Star Wars, right? That's a pleasure in and of itself. We assume that you're not going to be interviewing that much people on
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It's not necessarily the case. I mean, we won't make another beginner, I don't think. Very sadly. I wish we all could, though.
There could be one, but maybe not.
Middles.
A very funny meeting with someone from HBO, and they had just seen in the meeting it got revealed that they had just seen the trailer, but they were kind of pitching me like, what if you made a movie, TV show, Beginners? I was like, my dad dies every week?
Yes, right here on the edge, yes.
Yeah, I thought all the performances seemed amazing to me, and I was kind of wondering at what point the director played a role in that, and we were clearly enjoying working with these directors. I was wondering if you kind of contrast how working with him and other directors, what it is to become the next actor.
So the question about working with directors and how working with other directors contrasts with working with Mike, and sort of how that experience is from film to film.
It's a very difficult thing to put your finger on. It's a very difficult relationship to, what makes a great director, and a director that you don't enjoy working with. It's very difficult to put your finger on. I mean, you can have, because every director is very different, and you can have directors who are more, you can work with directors who are purely kind of technical directors who are all about the shot and and don't know really about unlocking performance. That can be okay, that can be alright. And then it's difficult. It's really about, I think, somebody's character directing. It's really about how somebody's character, and if you click, and we really clicked, we really got on, and the directing process is seamless, and it's impossible to. I can't say to you that Mike Mills is a great director because of this, and this. I just know that he is, and our relationship together was very special on set. I mean, you just couldn't imagine not. He could have asked me to do anything. Anything was possible. I knew I was in safe hands. I knew that my trust wasn't going to be dropped by him, and so then anything's possible, But it's difficult to put your finger on what it is. It's true to sum up. Because there's some directors, great directors, are work in ways that. Like Polanski, for instance, he's interesting. He can quite happily read you the lines and show you what you've got to do and make things direct you in a way that is just shocking with other directors. How dare you read me the lines and show me what to do? But he does it, and it's all right because Polanski, because he's a great director, and somehow that's how. I mean, that's not the only way he directs, but he is capable of doing that from time to time. McGregor slates Polanski.
There's one in the back there. Yeah? Or you guys were right next to each other, weren't you? Yeah.
I was wondering about the structure because you talked about filming the different storylines separately, and then how they all interwove in the final film. Is that all decided in the script, or did it really change up in the editing?
It was all written that way. There's, of course, as you're shooting and as you're editing, you're hoping that you're still learning things, and I'm very open to changing things, but it was written like that.
Wonderful film, and I'm curious about the process of you when you script and editing it. Your experience with you. I guess to put it into a question, the experience of where that flip for you from reality and transposing reality to something
Story.
else.
Yeah. So the script, the process of the script, how did I go from taking this personal, real thing and getting it to a story or getting it to a script? What was that like? It did really start one night when my real dad said, I was asking him about my parents' marriage, and he said, well, I think your mother took off